I'm here with Aiden Steiger's parents, and so Aiden just finished Brain Bounce and just graduated. So talk to us a little bit about what made you bring your 6-year-old here.
Well, there was lots of things going on with him. First, he appeared to be very aggressive towards other kids. That was one of the things. He had difficulty with speech. He was diagnosed with processing delay.
Language processing, sensory processing.
What kind of stuff did you see from sensory?
Loud noises.
Yep, he would slam down like the faucets on the sinks when he would wash his hands.
He didn't know how to regulate his
sense of touch.
So when he would play, it was rough. If he gave you a hug, he would choke you. If he pet the cat, it was very forceful.
Right.
So loud noises and bright lights scared him. So his senses.
What did you see from a language perspective? What were you dealing with?
He couldn't verbalize well, like questions and answer why or what questions, for example. Sometimes I'd have a hard time understanding him when as a mom, most of the time you can understand your child, but there was lots of times where I couldn't understand, and he would get frustrated, and he would shut down. He just wouldn't want to talk anymore.
He couldn't put his thoughts into words.
Right.
That was part of the problems that we've seen with him.
Yeah. What was school like for him?
Well, at the time that we started, he was actually in daycare, and in daycare he was having probably an average 7 to 10 physical incidents a day with other children. Not malicious, but just, he would, for whatever reason, he would just push the limits, and we couldn't get a handle on why.
Right. So you came here, and how's things been? How was the journey, and how's he now?
Well, he's really like a different kid now.
Yeah.
He's completely different.
Yeah, he is.
He is. That's the other thing. He really didn't have any empathy when we started, and he's completely empathetic now.
I have a list here that I'll read to you if you want.
Sure.
The stuff that we experienced was aggressiveness, impulsivity. We already talked about the language processing, visual processing, and sensory processing. He couldn't answer why and what questions. That was a problem for him. He had trouble with telling statements and asking questions, so verbal communication was a problem. He didn't know the difference between a sentence and a phrase. He didn't know how to structure those. He would have major meltdowns, temper tantrums, like just with the slightest. If something didn't go easy for him, like clicking on a seatbelt for the car seat, it was a massive meltdown. If you did not follow a step-by-step bedroom, bedtime routine, massive meltdown. What else? Couldn't sit still. He had traits of ADD, that's for sure. Couldn't keep eye contact. He would look you in the eye for a second and then look away. He could not maintain eye contact to save his life. He didn't understand personal space and boundaries real well. It was kind of socially awkward, like with other kids or him around family functions. He didn't understand personal space and boundaries. What else? He would interrupt all conversations. He didn't understand that, which some of that stuff's kid, but, this was on a regular basis. He would repeat himself like a broken record. He wouldn't say a sentence. He would say, what's an example? Milk. I want milk, 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 milk.
Or he would repeat the last thing you said. Like if you asked him a question, do you want water or milk? He would say milk, and if you flipped it, he would still say the last thing.
He had excessive whining, and this goes back to the sensory issues. He didn't like hand dryers, vacuum cleaners, stuff like that. He took everything literal. Like you couldn't say, "Hey, stop! I'm gonna knock your head off." He like he took it literal. So he didn't understand sarcasm or
double meaning words.
Those
kinds of things.
His fine motor skills were, man, they were bad. They were really bad.
He was also very socially awkward.
Yes, that was a biggie.
That was huge. He didn't know how to even like go up to someone and say, "Hi, I'm Aiden." He would just go up and start trying to roughhouse, and then he would get strange looks from other children. And
Right.
I would try to explain to him what he needs to do, but he couldn't figure out how to do it.
The normal social etiquette that kids usually kind of have, he didn't have.
And he was in daycare from a year and a half, so there was no reason why it shouldn't have been there. He was socialized.
So what's it like now?
Well, let's see. Everything on this list that I just read off to you,
It's pretty much gone.
it's kind of gone, really. And that's a lot of stuff because, you know, we took him to psychologists, we took him to language therapists,
A developmental-
occupational therapists,
Developmental pediatrician.
and
We had him tested.
we've had him tested. We even took him to Cardinal Glennon's Early Childhood Development Center, which is like one of the top in the country. You know, they screen thousands of people weekly, monthly, and most people don't get in. We were able to get in. And he didn't fit in one category. We thought he might have been slightly Asperger's. But what they said is they used the term processing kids. This is what you see with processing kids. And for him it was visual, language,
And
speech,
sensory.
and sensory. And then, so he had that going against him. And then he had traits from the ADD spectrum, but not enough to be ADD. You know, the impulsiveness, the aggressiveness, you know, the hyperactivity and not being able to maintain contact. That was kind of from that group of social behaviors. And then he tested negative for the autism or the Asperger's, but he still had traits that showed up on that spectrum. And that's kind of why he was able to weed through and actually get evaluated. It was a 2-day evaluation. So he wasn't just one thing. He wasn't just Asperger's. He wasn't just ADD. He was a mixture of different disorders or whatever you want to call them.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being there were no issues and 10 being we can hardly take it, where were you at when you got here?
I would say
12.
Yeah. I would say at least a 10.
Yeah.
At least a 10.
You know, I remember when you guys first came, I told you, make a list.
Yeah.
Because as you journey through it, you do forget, you know, what it looks like. So he's changed so much. So what's it like now?
He's a different kid.
He's completely different. We can go to dinner now, and he's well behaved.
Yeah.
We couldn't go to dinner before.
Yeah, we couldn't go out in
He would be
public.
bouncing, turning around, looking at people, and he couldn't sit in a booth.
Wow.
He wouldn't sit still. I remember the first time we walked into the chiropractor after we started, and he used to be like a Tasmanian devil in there, and he walked in, grabbed a book, sat down, and I was like,
Yeah.
just things like that
Even
over
the chiropractor
time.
was like, wow, he's changed. And like, you know, we hear things from our neighbors and from families. Like our mom just
Everybody's
told,
noticed.
Yeah, everyone's noticed that there's something different about him. So it's not just us. You know, you're around 24/7.
Sure.
So of course you're going to see the changes. But when people that aren't around 24/7 see him, they know enough of him to say, this is how he was. This is what we did notice. But man, this is what we see now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at now, do you feel?
I don't know what. 1.
Yeah, maybe we have to give it a number. A 1, maybe a 2 on if he's
So,
having a normal boy day.
Yeah.
Which
Life
is,
has changed.
yeah, completely.
Yeah. So what would you say to parents who were thinking about doing this?
Do it.
Do it. It's a big commitment, you know. It's a lot of it's not like drop your kid off at the Y for an hour a week 3 times a day. You know, it's effort, it's work. I mean, you're trying to grow brain connections that should have taken place, you know, when they were, you know, in the stomach or 1, 2, and 3, and now you're trying to do it like in a small period of time.
But it's worth it.
So it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but it's worth it because he's a night and day different kid.
We avoided medication. School was pushing for that.
Yeah, we avoided all
So-
medications. Just you gotta do the program.
You just have to do it, and you have to do it
You gotta
100%.
do it. You can't just do part of the diet. You can't just do part of the exercises. You can't show up here part of the time. You have to do it all. It's all or nothing.
It's true. It's true.
I mean,
works.
you know,
When you, yep, and you got it. You got it. Well, thanks for sharing. I'm so glad that you did it. It's been nothing short of just awesome to see him change like he has, and it's been pretty rapid and very significant.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's wonderful. Okay, well, thank you guys so much.